Hello and welcome to Cycling Weekly's Giro d'Italia Facebook live broadcast, where we're going to be discussing some of the previous stages and what lies ahead. I'm Oliver Bridgewood and I'm joined by Simon Richardson, Cycling Weekly's editor. And we're also going to be asking you a question. We want to know what has been your highlight of the Giro d'Italia so far. So please let us know your highlight in the comments section and we'll read some of them out as we progress in this Facebook Live broadcast. So,
what's been your thoughts on the first week? Quite a variety of wins and stages and events.
My biggest disappointment is Rowan Dennis.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have him in your fantasy team?
He's in my fantasy team and he's scored no points.
Has he gone home? He has, hasn't he?
Yeah, he had that unfortunate crash in the crosswinds when it all kicked off.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought he was going to, I wanted to see how well he could do in the hills, on the climbs, because there's all this talk of him potentially becoming
doing a Wiggins, as he said, I think himself.
And also, I wanted to see him in the time trials as well, because he's, arguably the best time trials.
Probably would have taken a stage victory in one of those. Yeah. He's not the only person to crash. Kreuzvik has come down twice now, has he? Is it once or twice? And that's after crashing in the Tour de Yorkshire quite heavily. But he's despite being quite spindly, he's made a stern stuff. Kreuzvik, he's battling on.
Yeah. What about yourself? What's?
I've liked the surprise wins. Enjoyed Gaviria's 2 wins. I still think he's one of the most talented young riders I've ever seen. Watching him on the track for a few years, very impressive. Etna was quite good as an interesting stage. Very, very strong ride by Jan Polanc, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, to hold on from the break all day, just a 4-rider break out in those wins and hold on up the climb on his own. Helped by the fact the big guns weren't really going for it, they were watching each other. Everyone thinking about the final week.
Yeah.
Sort of not wanting to burn their matches too early.
I think having said that though, although they were all watching each other, Quintana was not at the forefront.
Can you tell how Quintana's going? There was I did notice he was once on Geraint's wheel. Geraint was very near the front. And Quintana just swung out of the line, went back and sat on Nibali's wheel, about 10 riders back. And Geraint himself found himself in second wheel and swung off. So no one wanted to be near the front, they just wanted to be sat there, keeping an eye on things, but not doing too much. So Quintana's hard to tell, I think. We always expect him to be going well in the final week. What will be really interesting, we've got a TT coming up next week, 40 kilometre time trial on Tuesday, stage 10. There's a couple of long time trials. It's going to be fascinating because how much time does Quintana need to build up over the likes of Dumoulin, Thomas, even Nibali to sort of cover the losses that will inevitably open up in the TTs. That's going to be quite telling on Tuesday. And if Quintana isn't careful, he'll run out of stages.
I think we shouldn't just talk about Quintana in that regard, because there's another rider much closer to home who, Simon Yates. Yeah. I mean, he's someone else who's going to be trying to limit his losses in the time trials.
I think he'll probably surprise people. Yeah, I think he'll surprise people in the time trial. I don't think he's as bad as you might expect a sort of such a good climber to be. He's not up there with the strongest guys, but I think he might surprise people. I think he's not going to lose too much time, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, he looked fine on Etna. Trying to think back now.
And he was right up there.
Geraint won the sprint, didn't he? That group, which was encouraging. Yates right behind him. Putting a Brit in second and third on the GC, it's pretty exciting for British fans at the moment. But yeah, Yates, I think they'll both be in the top 10.
Yep.
Long-term prediction. Yeah, if they make it to Milan. But we've got some good stages coming up. We've got the stage to Blockhouse on Sunday, which is a similar profile to stage 4 to Etna. Lots of flat and then straight up a climb. 1,600 metres, the summit or the finish line at the top of Blockhouse there. That is going to be telling. I don't think we'll see such a truce. I think there'll be some action there. What do you think?
It's going to be all out there, I think, and especially with the time trial coming up the next day.
Yeah.
People are going to want to try and get time gaps. I think there's a rest day soon after that as well, isn't there? So
I think it's in between, though, isn't it? You got Sunday to Blockhouse, you got the rest day, and then you got a TT on Tuesday.
With the placement of that rest day, it's going to be all guns blazing up there now.
Yeah,
I think.
they get a rest after it.
there's plenty of people. You know, someone could feasibly take the jersey, taking the jersey on stage 9. I don't think people are going to be too bothered about that.
No, that's far enough into the race, isn't it? So, Quickstep had a good. Ethics had a good race so far. 2 wins for Gaviria and Jungels in pink.
Yeah.
Will he defend it? He'll probably keep it today because we're looking at sprinter stage today, aren't we? But will he keep it on Sunday?
I don't know, he's going well. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, why not if they all sort of stick together up there? But I'm hoping we see fireworks, and I think we will on that stage.
I think the question is who from.
I also think that blockhouse climb. I think the teams are going to be very wary of that in the previous stage.
Yeah.
Which has a few climbs in it, but it's pretty.
That's
pretty
got
flat.
breakaway written all over it, hasn't it? Saturday stage.
I mean, that gets onto another point as well about what we've seen in the stages so far. There's been quite a few successful breakaways.
The sprinters haven't had it all their own way, have they? Yeah, they've had 3 wins, 2 for Gaviria, 1 for Greipel. But yeah, we had yesterday group stayed away win for Silvan Dillier, BMC. We had Jan Planch sort of staying ahead on Etna. I think we were talking about this beforehand. It's just everyone has got an eye on that final week being so tough. But I think also for the sprinters teams, I don't think there's no one come here with a 100% sprint team. Probably Greipel's team, Lotto-Soudal, probably the most sprint focused. But everyone has got a GC rider in there as well. So Quickstep, they've got Gaviria for the sprints, but they've got Bob Jungels, Orica, they've got Caleb Ewan, but they've also got Simon Yates for the GC. All of the teams are split, and which is why none of them seem to be really wanting to just take over yet. We'll chase, we'll set up the sprint because that's what we've come here for. No one's doing that, which I think is why we've seen the successful break yesterday and maybe another one on Saturday.
And maybe one today.
Maybe.
I mean, today is a flat stage on paper, but like you say, and then I think the other thing is this Giro route is really hard. That final week looks absolutely savage.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
And you think it's only stage 16 when they've got that killer Stelvio day, and they've got loads of stages after that. There's plenty of people who are going to be worried about cracking. And I think not just the GC riders, but the whole team. Well, all the teams that are all maybe even just subconsciously thinking we want to save energy here and not necessarily chase down breaks as hard as they would.
Probably too far ahead for this programme, but the really exciting thing is that final day time trial, because if it's close going into that, we could have another 1989 Tour de France on our hands, couldn't we? Because there's some really strong TTers in that GC mix up against some really strong climbers, so that's going to be great. But before we get to that, next week we've also got Wednesday's stage 11, Firenze to Bagno de Romagna, which
top pronunciation.
Thank you very much. Excuse my Italian, apologies. For 3 big climbs, finish on the downhill, that's going to be key, and then stage 14 next Saturday week is another very flat and then hilltop finish to Europa. So there's a few key stages next week. That's 9, 10, 11 and 14 for anyone who wants to put those in their diary. But definitely Sunday and Tuesday are the ones to get excited about, I think. What are your thoughts on the time trial? You're a big time trialling man. What are your thoughts? Sky apparently have a new Castelli skin suit. They've thrown a load of old thinking out the window.
Yeah.
Got something new. We're waiting to see what that is. Apparently they're testing it ahead of the Tour de France.
Quintana has a very good skin suit as well
from
Endura. So I don't know. I mean,
who's your favourite for that time trial?
Dumoulin.
Yeah.
Now I would have said Dennis, but now Dennis has gone Dumoulin.
Yeah.
I mean, I suspect he's going to win it. I mean, there's no, there's some of the decent time trialists there, but Dumoulin's looking in good form as well.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Tom, what do you think about Thomas?
I think Thomas would be all right, but he's been a bit hit and miss in the time trials in the past. Sometimes he goes really well, other times he's not as good as you'd think he would be with a rider of his pedigree, especially over the pursuit. So
it'd be interesting to know. I mean, the Sky riders, they're really good at spending a lot of time on their TT bikes when they've got when they're big factors in races. I mean, look back at 2012, there were 2 long time trials in the Tour, and then followed by the Olympic time trial, and Froome spent a lot of time on his TT bike. A couple of years later, there were no TTs virtually. He spent no time training on it and got a bit of a kicking by some, the pure time trialers. And people couldn't understand why he'd gone from being so strong on the TT bike to not so strong. but it's purely the amount of time he put in on that bike.
Yeah.
Get used to the position, get used to that riding because it's so different. So it'd be interesting to know what they've done coming into this Giro with so much time trialling in it. That's something I'd be surprised if they got that wrong, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Pinot goes as well. I mean, FDJ have had a massive cultural change in terms of their time trialling. You know, they've become a lot better at it, and I know that he spends a lot more time on his time trial bike now as well. So
I mean, it is an interesting profile. There's a fair bit of climbing. It looks all a bit draggy, but it's not a straight out and back flat TT.
I think the slight uphills on that time trial course on stage 10 is something that's quite good for someone like Quintana, who's a lighter rider, because it does, the slight uphill bits do give him something to push against. Which I think is you know, useful for him.
40k, that's quite long for a Giro time trial. That they often have, when they often stick one time trial in, but usually around 30k. So that is quite long for a Giro time trial. The last long one was probably won by Denis Minchov several years back, maybe.
I'm just gonna have a quick look at, see if we've got any questions through. I'm just having a look.
We've got some coming through.
Yeah.
Have we?
Yeah.
No.
But anyway, who else has sort of impressed you this week? Because Lander
was
because on the key climb up Etna,
he had that puncher, didn't he?
Lander right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Diego Rosso
as it was speeding up.
Yeah, was it Phil Dignan went back?
Phil Dignan was a hero.
Helped him get back in, but he got back in and he was right up there in the sort of top 10 at the end and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, he was helped by that truce, but to get back in and just sit in there with the favourites and not, you thought he was going to lose time there, but he didn't. So that's massive for Sky, because it keeps two riders up there on GC, and they've got a double pronged attack. Movistar, Quintana had a help up there, didn't he? So they're looking strong. I think Nibali was isolated, perhaps.
He still had a few sort of people up there.
Did he?
Yeah.
Kruijswijk's done well, because he was one of the few riders who crashed on that when they went round the right hand bend. I think it was Gaviria, maybe a couple of others went straight on. They misjudged it, and that's where Kruijswijk hit the deck. I was on with a Katusha rider who looked pretty banged up, but Kruijswijk's, you know, I'm really keen to see how he does this year after last year's dramatic sort of finale for him. It'd be really interesting to see how he does.
I think one of the most unlucky GC rider so far has been Ilnur Zakarin. He's looking like he's in good form. He's looking good, but he seems to having mechanicals or punctures or falling off or whatever constantly at key moments almost every stage. And chasing back in and getting back in, but
because he grabbed a few seconds, didn't he, on it? So I've had a few questions come in. Tim Mahoney, favourite bit so far. Luke Pibernik celebrating too early. What a nightmare for the Bahrain-Merida rider. Not the only person to do that. I remember Chris Boardman doing that in Brighton in 1994. He thought he'd won as they crossed the finish line. He had one more loop of Brighton to do. So, and we've seen it before on circuit laps. But what a rookie error to make. Why was his radio turned off? Did he run out of batteries?
It is seriously embarrassing.
Jim Hewson has asked, can Thomas win it overall? That's a good question.
He's looking good so far.
I mean, that's what we all want to know. Can he do that? Can he maintain a Grand Tour challenge and not have that one big bad day and let that sort of kill his chances, as happened in the Tour? I think that if he can, you know, that would dictate probably the next 4 years of his career if he goes for GC in the Grand Tours. I think he can get on the podium. I wouldn't put money on him to win just because that last week, but I think he is capable of getting onto the podium at the end.
One thing that you can be sure of is that Geraint Thomas is an absolute fighter. He's one of these guys that just does not give up at all. If he was on, you could imagine him winning on one of those SAS "Are You Tough Enough" type programs, because he does. The
tougher he gets, the better it is for him. So some bad Giro weather might sort of suit him. We haven't had any yet, but we kind of expect it, don't we? In May in Italy, you always get a few bad days.
He really does get stuck in. I mean, like you think of the Paris-Nice win.
Yeah.
Where he just did not give up. A lot of people, cycling there's a huge psychological component to cycling in any sport really, but a lot of riders, a lot of pro riders, I think sometimes you see them, they get dropped on a climb and the head drops, they shrug their shoulders and they think, that's it, it's gone. There's Contador disappears up the road.
Yeah.
Well,
that's an old reference. He hasn't disappeared up the road a long
time.
Well,
it was in that Paris-Nice. It was Contador, but it was he didn't give up.
Yeah.
And it's he rode the Tour de France with a broken leg,
broken hip, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So that's what he's got.
I think he can win it.
Wendy Superfan agrees that Dennis would have been the favourite for the TT, but now Dumoulin. Jose Perez, what about Jungels for the time trial? Yeah, he's a strong tester. He'll do well. Gain some more time back if he loses any on Blockhouse, but I think he's a definite contender for the top 10. Looking good, and once you're in that pink jersey, you don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to. If you do lose it, you're going to try and stay close to it. So.
Nick Stanley.
How much time will Yates lose in the 40k time trial, and can he win it overall? I think Yates will lose probably. Well, there's two things, isn't it? It's how much time you lose to the win of the time trial, and how much time you lose to your GC rivals. I think he'll probably lose 2 to 2.5 minutes to someone like Dumoulin, but he'll be probably slightly ahead of Quintana, maybe just behind Nibali. You're talking sort of anywhere between 10 and 40 seconds, I reckon, differences between those guys. And can Simon Yates win it overall? I think the Yates are Grand Tour winners.
Yates,
this
he
year,
can.
Very good. Apologies. This year, maybe too soon, but long term, the Yates are definitely Grand Tour winners. They're just, as long as if their trajectory continues.
I think this could be. I think we're seeing already some quite big breakthroughs happening in this race. I think this race is going to be really exciting. From the first week, the things I've seen, Michael Woods from Cannondale is looking really good. We haven't spoken about him yet.
You think that he's going to win a stage for them? First World Tour win in 2 years?
I think he could win a stage in this Grand Tour, yeah. Or it depends what he goes for. I think he has the potential to win a stage, or he has the potential to perhaps finish top 10.
Former runner, Michael Woods. Another couple of quick questions. Oscar Palomino, which of the GC contenders will be strongest in the third week? I think that's the easiest question. We'll all go Quintana. But Nibali as well, as he showed last year when he went on to win, he was written off in the first week. He'd lost time, went on and won the race because he's experienced, won every Grand Tour there is. He knows how to do it. He'll be there in the third week. Quintana will be strongest on the climbs in the final week. I think everyone knows that. So we'll have to wait and see. Sean Ricketts, do you expect Quintana to ride more aggressively next week, as in week 2, to try and take time before the TT, or do you think he'll have confidence in his TT ability? I think Quintana's gambling on the third week.
You reckon?
Those big climbs, yeah, in the final week. I think he might go for it on Blockhouse, but I don't think he'll go all out, sort of 10k out. He'll probably leave it to the last k if he's going to do anything. But I think he'll, I think he's waiting till that last week. I would if I was
Quintana tends to in Grand Tours. There's often one particular stage where he deals a hammer blow to his next nearest rival and just takes 2.5 minutes. Like no bother, and on a summit finish or something.
I think the thing that threw everyone last year at the Tour de France was when he just followed the wheels and didn't do anything. We found out he was suffering a bit with some illnesses, but everyone was waiting, and he just sat there with that poker face of his, hiding behind the sunglasses, and just sat on the wheels. And we were everyone was thinking, well, when are you going to do it? And he didn't. But I think he will.
That 45-year-old poker face.
It's hard to read. That's what happens growing up at altitude. It's hard. No oxygen. Okay, well, should we wrap it up there?
Yeah. So, we're going to watch, today's stage as well. Finally, I think let's end on prediction for today's stage.
I've gone Greipel.
So it's a very flat sprinter stage.
It's got sprinter stage written all over it. They were they missed their chance yesterday, so I'm going to go Greipel.
You're going Greipel. He's faster than Greipel. I'm going for Gav. Gav's the man, Fernando Gaviria, and he's in my fantasy team, so I want more points.
It'd be nice to see Caleb Ewan get he's sort of hasn't quite hit his stride.
Yeah.
Nice to see him get. There's been a lot of debut wins this year. It'd be nice to see him get one. But
well, he sort of should have won the first stage.
Yeah. He won the sprint.
Yeah.
But didn't win the stage.
But yeah, unfortunately not. So
we'll see.
Yeah, thanks for watching and
Join us again next week.
Tune us next time when we'll be doing our next Giro.
Look ahead to that final big mountains week.
Cool. See you later.